Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another deep dive, this time into the world of digital pool and snooker.
Ooh, nice.
Now, we asked you guys to hit us up
Ooh,
with your favorite forum threads, all about the best games out there,
right.
and you guys delivered.
Yeah, they did.
So, Tucker, those games that let you experience that sweet, satisfying clack of the balls, the comfort of your own couch.
Exactly.
No smoky pool halls required.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting genre, unlike, a lot of other games, like platformers or RPGs, where newer titles just blow the old ones out of the water.
Right.
That's not always the case here. Sometimes those classic pool and snooker games, they still hold up,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to physics.
You're telling me, just scrolling through these threads,
Yeah.
it's clear that realistic physics are like the holy grail for a lot of these players.
Absolutely.
And one name that keeps popping up over and over again, Virtual Cool 4.
VP4, a classic for a reason. And you know it's not just about the balls moving in a believable way. VP4 goes deep, simulating every little detail.
Ooh, like what?
The way the cloth interacts with the cue ball, the spin you can put on it,
Oh.
even the sound of the collisions. It's that attention to detail that really creates the immersion.
So you're saying it's like Song. You're actually there.
Pretty much. I mean, people are saying it's improved their real-life game.
No way.
Yeah, some folks are claiming that playing VP4 has made them better pool players in real life.
That's wild. I saw one comment where someone said they've logged over 2,000 hours in Virtual Pool 4.
Wow, that's dedication.
Is that normal for like a sports sim?
I mean, 2,000 hours is definitely on the higher end, but it shows you just how much depth and replayability VP4 offers.
Right.
It keeps people coming back for more, and that kind of longevity often goes hand in hand with a passionate community, which just adds to the whole experience.
Makes sense. Now, along with VP4, there's another game getting a lot of love in these threads, Shooter Spool.
Interesting. So we've got Virtual Pool 4, and now Shooter Spool.
Yeah. And some people are even saying that Shooter School is the most realistic pool sim. Out of all of
Oh, wow. Even more realistic than VP4.
I'm sensing a little rivalry brewing here.
Yeah, maybe a little. I think both games are definitely aiming for that top spot. But they might appeal to different players, Maybe VP4 is a bit more approachable, while Shooter Spool's for the hardcore realism enthusiasts.
So for our listener, who's trying to decide between the two? What are the key trade-offs to keep in mind?
Well, with Shooter Spool, you're getting that ultra-realism, but it might come with a steeper learning curve. So if you're looking for a casual game to just pick up and play, it might not be the best choice.
Okay, so maybe VP4 is more pick up and play friendly?
Yeah, I'd say so. It still has that depth, but it's maybe a bit more forgiving.
So we've talked about pool. Let's move on to snooker.
Oh, yes. Sounds good.
There's a lot of buzz around Snooker 19, mainly because it's got all the officially licensed players and tournament.
Real deal. All the big names.
Right. But the opinions on Snooker 19, they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's definitely a mixed bag.
So what's the deal with that?
Well, it seems like Snooker 19. It nails the presentation. It's got the official branding, the familiar faces, the big tournaments, which is a huge draw for a lot of fans.
Yeah. But when it comes to the actual gameplay, some players feel like it doesn't quite match the realism of VP4 or Shooter Spool.
Right. It seems like. Snooker 19 is really easy to pick up and play, which is great for casual players or maybe for people who are new to snooker. But if you're looking for that hardcore simulation experience, it might not quite scratch that itch.
Right, and maybe having all those official licenses means there's less budget left over to really focus on making those physics perfect.
That's a possibility. It's a tough balancing act for these officially licensed sports games. They need to appeal to a broad audience, which means making the game accessible and enjoyable, even for people who aren't hardcore fans.
Okay.
And that can sometimes mean compromising on realism.
Makes sense. Not everyone wants to spend hours mastering the intricacies of snooker physics.
Right. Sometimes you just want to grab a cue and have some fun.
Exactly. Now, what about the folks who are looking for a free option? We've got Pool Nation FX, getting some love in the threads.
Oh, yeah. Pool Nation FX is a good
no.
one, especially for multiplayer.
There are some caveats.
There are a few.
I saw one review that called it a glorified paid demo,
Oh, ouch.
which
Okay.
seems a bit harsh. But is that becoming a trend in free-to-play games?
It's definitely something to watch out for. The rise of free-to-play has led to some, let's say, creative business models.
Especially in Drado.
Yeah.
A niche genre like this, it's got to be tough to balance
Oh, okay.
offering a compelling free experience while also making sure the developers get, keep the lights
Yeah,
on.
exactly. It's a delicate balance.
So buyer beware.
Yes. Do your research, look beyond that initial free download, and really consider the long-term costs.
Okay. About the origins of these games.
The history.
Yeah. How do we go from playing pool on real-life felt to battling it out on virtual tables?
I never really thought about it.
It seems like these digital versions have always been around, but they must have had a starting point somewhere. What do you know about the early days of digital pool and snooker?
Well, it turns out the history of these games is actually quite fascinating.
Really? Tell me more.
Some of the earliest attempts to recreate pool and snooker in a digital format date back to the 1980s.
Whoa, the 80s. That's way before my time. I can't even imagine what those early games must have looked like. Were they even recognizable as pool or snooker?
Huh. Well, they were certainly a far cry from the visually stunning simulations we have today. Imagine blocky graphics, simple sound effects, and AI opponents that were, shall we say, less than challenging.
Sounds like a far cry from the immersive experiences we were just dreaming up.
Right.
But those early pioneers, they must have been onto something. What drove them to try and recreate these games in a digital format in the first
Well,
place?
I think it comes back to that fundamental appeal we were talking about earlier. There's something inherently satisfying about the strategy, the skill, the challenge of potting balls, whether it's on a real table or a virtual one. And those early developers, they saw the potential of bringing that experience to a wider audience through the magic of computers.
It's amazing to think how far the technology has come since then.
It really is.
We've gone from those pixelated, blocky beginnings to games that can realistically simulate the physics of cloth and spin, and even transport us into virtual reality environments.
It's incredible.
It makes you wonder what the next evolution of digital pool and snooker will be.
It does indeed.
And that's something I'd love to hear our listeners' thoughts on.
Right. We've talked about our vision for the ultimate pool or snooker game, but what about theirs? What features or innovations would they love to see in the future?
That's a fantastic question to ponder. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the technical aspects of physics engines to the more intangible elements of atmosphere and immersion.
It's been a journey.
But ultimately,
The best game is the one that resonates most with the individual player.
so listener, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of digital pool and snooker, we want to leave you with this. What truly matters is finding the game that clicks with your style and preferences.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the hype of the latest technology or the allure of hyper-realism. But sometimes, the most enjoyable games are the ones that simply make you feel good when you play them.
You know what? I totally agree. Sometimes I just want to fire up a game, unwind, and have some fun without having to think too hard about spin control or perfect break angles.
Right. Gaming is about enjoyment.
Exactly. It's about escaping into a different world, even if that world is just a virtual pool hall.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid to experiment. Try different games.